Up YouTube. I'm literally cutting this segment in real time with my chat in the same stream. If you're watching part 3 of this, it's the same stream. I just cut it up for you. Some people skip part 2 and 3, they get bored, first one was too long, you're saying all this hot air shit. But I feel like part 2 going to hit to a lot of people. So if you're on part 3 right now, hit that like, hit that subscribe, go watch part 1 and part 2. I don't know how to put up annotations and I don't got time for that, so look it up, bro. Anyway, we're talking about Robby Starbuck here today. If you watch part 2, you know I went off on his fucking statement on critical race theory and broke that shit down as an intellectual and a black man. So let's see what else this man has got to say.
And then one of the people he works with, Cheryl Harris, UCLA Law, she's another pioneer of critical race theory. She actually just recently said property rights are a function of whiteness. To achieve equality, we need to dismantle whiteness and therefore dismantle property rights and then redistribute wealth.
He took what I said and made it sound bad. Because in actuality, redistributing wealth means not taking it from white people and giving it to black people. It means dismantling the system that keeps them out from being able, let's say it's hopium time. Paradigm moment is coming. Hopium time. There's hope. Let's create a system that's not the same as the one I've talked about with property ownership over 10 years in urban areas. Being able to have return investments after you've spent a certain period of time in an apartment. Let's talk about a form of to make it palatable for you, let's talk about land back. But let's do it in the form of black people. What if we were able to buy out a certain area of the neighborhood and redevelop it in the vision of the people who live in the neighborhood and not investors and contractors? What if, we could remake the housing system to allow the citizens and residents to build up new property and move into it as you know how they do for low income housing, you have to be a community board member or whatever, blah blah blah, or you have to be a community resident. Do that on large scale. And then you could renovate the buildings that they've moved out of and do the high rise thing, and you would give other people a better standard of living in a better building, which would increase their and then you could still sell the other buildings at a higher price, and you wouldn't have to raise rents because you could do a rent control program where the same amount of maintenance and the same amount of upkeep, but we're talking financial with records and everything, the same amount of maintenance to that building would exist both for the new place and the place being renovated. And you could just continuously shift people into better and better houses, lock them under a certain rent, and then raise the property taxes wherever else you would, and both people would get the same better standard of living and have more money because they'd still be paying the same low amount of rent. The barrier of wealth would be dramatically lowered, and then from there, you could even consider buyouts or bigger programs because you're still living in the same buildings as the other people, and some people might be willing to pay more. So you would still get that money, plus the return on you get, plus you get loyal residents who aren't going to move out, be shifting left and right because they had to move out of the first home in order to get into this one. And since it's better than that and it's still in the same neighborhood, they're allowed to still have access to the same things that make them comfortable. At the same time, being able to pour more money into things because they don't need to do simple maintenance like AC. They don't need to worry about their heat. They don't need to worry about having laundry done, things like that. They save money, therefore they spend more money in the economy, therefore they're more willing to go and look for other options as far as jobs and such, which leaves more job creation that could be created in New York City and the surrounding areas. Marquise for president. That's it. Marquise for president. Now we could talk about the logistics and the actual funding and how much money it would take, but why don't we just do it? Why don't we just fucking do it? We create double the jobs. We could create taller buildings. We could even put the we could create we could create larger landscapes, because if we're just demolishing buildings all the way straight down, we can do the center building with like a garden and grass, and like we can use that as the available space. And the wider we create the building, we can create more apartments within it, and then use rooftop and balcony spaces to grow things, and therefore people could have self-sustaining food in the.
Okay, does that sound like a good idea to you guys? Because it doesn't sound like a good idea to me. In fact, it sounds like exactly what my family fled in Cuba. And I'm telling you right now, one of the
That is not what your family fled from in Cuba.
biggest problems in Cuba was that there were not enough willing people to show up, stand up and say, this is wrong. We're willing to ruffle feathers. We are willing to be unpopular. We are willing for you not to like me, but I'm standing up for what's right. What you guys have going for you is that we actually have some polling to back this up, that 75% of parents in America oppose critical race theory.
How many of those parents, and whatever study you cite is this stun locking, or do you guys understand like I'm building a like an episodic thing here? Are we aware of that? Because I feel like some people feel like, oh my God, you've talked about this so long. How long are you going to keep going? Like, I'm doing a real thing here. This is not like I hate this guy and I just want to look up everything. Like, this was planned. Like, I did research. I didn't look up this stuff because I want to blind react it, but I just want, because some people are new, and I know you walk in here and you're like, why are you spending so much time on this guy? Because this is what we do. Like, I'm shifting your paradigm. I'm giving you reasons not to believe, and not only the things these people say, but specifically these people. Just want to make that clear, because, you know, it's not fair for me to assume that you would get that, because that's normally not how people on Twitch work. I understand that. 75% of American parents reject critical race theory. Where is that? $25 set, 510. That was around the time. Okay, so this is probably the one. Parents defending education. So how can I trust this? Let me look at the about. Parents Defending Education is a national grassroots organization working to reclaim our schools from activists imposing horrible agendas. So you probably asked people that was biased. The first national poll asked detailed questions of American voters about what efforts the social justice curriculum on 12 found overwhelming opposition to a strong support for depoliticized curriculum. 25% said it was somewhat or very important for that race is the most important thing about them, compared to 70% who said this is not important. That's a leading question. If that was the literal question, then that was a leading question. That's why you got that answer. When asked whether teachers should present studies with multiple perspectives on contentious political and social issues, 87% agreed, compared to 6% who believe teachers should present one perspective that the school believes is correct. Wow. So this directly goes against what he just said, and directly goes against what they just said, because the leading question and the question that was actually expanded upon actually gave them enough time to be able to think about what they wanted to say. Oh, so you're lying. When asked whether the local K-12 school has increased or decreased its emphasis on issues of race, gender, and activism in the last 2 years, 52% said it had increased a lot or a little, obviously, because, hello, fucking fascism almost walked over. Only 2% said it had decreased. Similarly, 57% said their local schools have become more political, with only 40% saying less political. I wonder what schools you said national poll, so I can, like, obviously, 57% said their local schools have become more political, but in what ways? 74% said they were somewhat or strongly opposed. This is the one that he's reading off of. Said that they were somewhat or strongly opposed to teaching students that white people are inherently privileged and black and other people are inherently oppressed. That's not what's being taught. That's a leading question. Similarly, only 6% of respondents favored schools assigning white students the status of privileged and non-white students the status of oppressed, versus 88% opposed, including 78 strongly opposed. What the fuck? Who's the six? Like, what are you talking about? You got trolled. 69, nice, opposed schools teaching that America was founded on racism and is structurally racist, because, leading question, 75%, like, I hate when people pull up polls. It's like, what were the questions on this poll? Please tell me. Does it matter? Yeah, the leading goal was, when this specific question was asked, it's like if I ask my chat right now, do you hate black people? Do you think of them as N-words? I'm pretty sure, hopefully, that 99% of the chat would say it. But like if I lead the question with, do you hate this person? Oh, so you hate all people, and then I say like 75, like, come on, man. 75% oppose teaching there is no such thing as biological sex, and that people should choose whatever gender they prefer for themselves. Only 18% supported teaching such concepts. 80% opposed the use of classrooms to permit political activism to students, including 64 who strongly opposed. The poll of more than 800 active voters was in the field. 800. A link to the full poll. Paradigm is doing research. So when they say do your own research, you can just clip this. This is how you do it. I'm actually excited. I'm not a bumbling idiot. I really know what the fuck I'm talking about. Now, let's see if my performative activism actually leads into empirical data. Do you believe in the United States are heading in the right direction or it has gotten off the wrong track? That's such a leading fucking question. How much attention, if any, do you pay to what is being taught? How much attention do you pay to what is being taught at kindergarten through 12 schools? A lot, only some, not much, none at all, unsure. And what grade would you give for the kindergarten in your area for the jobs they're doing educating students? Most people said B or C, barely about the same. 20% said D or F. So it's pretty much everybody's like, eh. Please tell me whether you have heard of the following, and if so, whether you have a favorable or unfavorable impression. Oh, let's fucking go. Let's see if what I said was correct. Now we have percents, empirical data. Oh, I get so hard when people message me saying everything about empirical data. Empirical data. Like, here we go. Here's your empirical fucking numbers. I guess this will be what part 3 is called. The empirical side of Robby Starbuck. If you haven't heard of them or have no opinion, let me know because that's fine. Questions 4 through 11 were randomized. So the first three were setups. The Black Lives Matter movement. Favorable, some fave, some unfave, very unfavorable. So most people in this poll do not like Black Lives Matter. I wonder if that affects their answers in any way. Local school teachers. No, never heard of that. Very favorable, some fave, barely any people like, yeah. Okay, so let's say this swung on the right side, and let's say this swung on the left. Let's do this as a left and right comparison because most likely capitalism. What a fucking throw of a question. That can't be randomized. You meant to do that. Question 4 through 11 were randomized? Nah, you did that shit on purpose. Capitalism, very favorable. Well, only 13% were 1.8% said they had not heard of it. Wow. Interesting. Very favorable of capitalism. The same pollsters were very against Black Lives Matter and also very favorable of capitalism. Interesting. Socialism. 7.6 very favorable. 50% unfavorable. Some favorable, some favorable. Exactly. Cancel culture, 46. Abraham Lincoln. Oh, he's the guy. He's the guy. We can't say that out loud. Martin Luther King. He's the guy. He's the guy. We can't say that out loud. The founding fathers. He's the guy. They're the guys. We can't say that out loud. It's like you like Martin Luther King, but you don't like socialism, but you like Abraham Lincoln, but you don't like cancel culture, and you like the founding fathers, but you don't like Black Lives Matter. Help me make sense. Help me make this make any sense. There's your fucking data. We're gonna keep going because fuck you. Oh my god. Here are some things administrators could do. Please tell me whether or not you know which each one is and how important it is to implement each of them. Promote social equity. Mostly, wait, what? Extremely important, very important, some importance, not that important, not at all, don't know, unsure, whatever that is. Prepare students for the workforce. Promote social equity in school. It's very interesting that, like, the mix is pretty much between extremely and very and not at all. Okay. Place more emphasis on race and gender. That's a leading question. Teach students how to reason and think well. Leading question. 69.6. Nice. Who the fuck said not that all important? Institute changes based on critical race theory. Thanks for swinging that dick around. Teach students to engage in political activism and protest. Very funny that people saying it shouldn't be when you grew up in an era where it was being taught in school to protest. That's so fucking funny. Teach students that their race is the most important leading question. So this entire thing, so what he's quoting right now is an entire, isn't it? I gotta watch this now. What's going on? Paradigm is doing research. So when they say do your own research, you can just clip this. This is how you do it. I'm actually excited. I hate myself. I'm not a bumbling idiot. I really know what the fuck I'm talking about. I hate myself. I hate myself so much. That was a good clip. That was definitely a good clip. Are these public schools, private schools? What schools are they? They're not even schools. Like they're not even schools. They're just parents they were just fucking voters. They were just fucking voters. Yeah, we don't even know what schools they are. Matter of fact, for the sake of it, good fucking question. Hold on. Can we find out what schools these are? Margin of sampling error, 8 active voter, weighted on mode of contact, party affiliation, age, Latino ethnicity, level of education. Well, we know they put that in everything. Let me see if it says that down there. School. Yeah, these are long ass. Most of these people came from the West, South, and Midwest. 13% were from the Northeast. That makes so much. That is so funny. Most of the people polled live in a home. Most of the people polled also somehow. Oh no, sorry, urban city, depending on where you live. But yeah, most of the people who took this poll lived in a home, did not identify as Latino. Majority male, majority female. That's interesting. Total household income. The two biggest groups are $20 to $40,000. Weird. Oh, $20,000 to $40,000. I'm dumb. I was like $20. That was misleading. Okay, I had a brain fart. My bad. $20,000 to $40,000. Why would they write it like that? And the majority is actually 80 to 150,000. 80 to more than $150,000 was the majority of the people who took this poll. And refused is 15%. And there it is. And there it is. And there it is. And there it is. Let's zoom in on that. And your ethnicity heritage mainly, after they've misled you on all these fucking questions probably, and your ethnic heritage mainly, 64% white. 6.8% African American. $35 to $44, all the way to 75. So 35 years and up. Most people have completed a college degree or some college. Sorry, that's wrong. Most people have completed their college degree. Somewhat conservative and very conservative make up the majority of this. It was a conservative poll. He is quoting a conservative poll. I did my research and I found out that he's a fucking liar.
Okay? It's the silence that's killing us. So we need to stop being silent and not be afraid to speak up about this. I want to tell you guys a little bit about my own kids' experience, because as a dad, honestly, I think that's the area where I feel most qualified to comment on this, because I met somebody in here who sort of had a similar story where their family fled another state. I call it the People's Republic of California. And there, when my kids went to school, this started to pop up. In California, it's always about 5 to 7 years ahead in terms of what social issue is going to be pushed.
If I had alcohol, I'd definitely.
And so they started pushing this years ago, and when we really recognized it was a problem,
Hello, sound.
was they brought a speaker into the school, to our oldest daughter's school, California.
Oh, that, yeah.
Told them that they have white
They fucked up his
privilege
mic.
and that they're inherently, they owe something for these immutable characteristics they were born with. He also told them they can't sit together unless a minority is present because it may be an unconscious bias, but it is racism, okay?
Who told what? That's not true. Whoever said that lied.
I looked this guy up afterwards to find out he organized Antifa rallies. And
Oh,
I'm being
joyous
literal
bless.
here. Organized Los Angeles Antifa rallies. So I went to the school, and the school said, there's nothing we can do about this. That started to become the overwhelming answer with every new element of critical race theory that was pushed. So
That's you're linking two things that don't exist together. Lying. I could stop right now. Let's see if I stopped. I couldn't bury him further. I'm gonna keep burying him.
naturally, as good parents, we pull our kids out of school and we move to Tennessee, okay? Like any good parent would.
You got claps for that? That's crazy.
But sadly, I'm here to tell you that this ideology is now taking root here because at the end of the day, the root is not in one state or another.
He's speaking for Moms for Liberty? Oh my
The
god.
root is at the core of academia. So when we send somebody to university,
So they just think he's cute?
they fundamentally start to learn to hate the values and ideology that has made us proud to be Americans.
And is that whiteness? Because you keep saying that they are supposed to be taught to hate their whiteness. Is whiteness American values?
For our entire lives. And so when their message that Marxism is the solution to all the perceived problems that their professors bring up, they start to believe it. And then they end up in a classroom with your child, educating them and teaching them about life. Your child spends more time in many cases with their teacher who may have this ideology than they do with you. That should scare you.
Anybody who promotes anything of like equality is a Marxist, and I wonder why we have so many problems between school union, teacher unions, and the parents because of astroturf dumb shit like this.
The amount that we don't know about our teachers who teach our children should scare us with the amount of time and influence they have on our children. Beyond that, this is not just a school issue. Your kids consume entertainment, they listen to music, they watch YouTube, they're on iPads, they have all this stuff. I mean, some of you guys, they don't. My kids don't. But a lot of other kids don't. Being a director in Hollywood kind of wakes you up to a lot of the things your kids should not have.
But you weren't a director in Hollywood.
But I will tell you this. We need to take stock of how all of these things work together to destroy a child's mind and to make them turn against the values they're raised with. I can give you some examples. How many people
What if they're raised on these values?
in the room have heard of brain pop? Okay, so that's a lot of people. Okay, brain pop, for those of you who don't know, it's sort of in
Yes,
a
they're
little
all
learning
doing that. Trump lights. They're all just trying to be like, say the same thing Trump said, get the seat, and then never talk out loud ever again.
program.
You're always
I'd call
fighting the boogeyman.
it, where they give tools. There's an app. Kids learn with it. It's supposed to be fun. When it first started, it was great. My kids loved it. And I checked through everything meticulously. There was nothing questionable at all. But it's sort of the bait and switch that gets pulled in a lot of things that kids consume. After a while, they started to bake in critical race theory, and then we had to pull the plug. How many of you know that Brain Pop is pushing critical race theory now?
Oh,
So that's not nearly as many hands as went up the new Brain Pop. So that's something important for parents to understand is take stock of everything your child consumes, because a lot of it has this stuff built into it, whether it's TV shows or whether it's things along these lines.
You know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be fair to myself. I don't think I need to continue any further. I really don't. I really don't, because you know where he's going. And yeah, I could just listen. I could do the right thing and hear him out completely and work through each one of his points. But like now he's going into the anecdotes and the sad stories. My children, they're pushing this ideology and they're going to make you hate America because they're going to make you hate white people. And as you know, white people are top tier and I'm one of the white people, even though I keep telling people I'm Cuban. Like, even though like they're calling you jode, like no matter what, like and you're fighting for your values and you're fighting for your freedom and you're doing the blah 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 and doing the this or that. I think I've gone on far enough with how deep, and I've even proposed solutions to the shit he's saying. He is lying from this point forward. I do not give a shit. I do not care. And the reason why I'm saying this right now is not only because we still have to go through his Twitter, but I'd rather end part 3 by showing you that even if I was wrong, even if I was wrong about all even if I was wrong about everything I've said thus far, even if I ended up finding out that everything I said for the last hour, 2 hours was bullshit. Let's say that. Let's give rise to the argument that I don't know anything I'm talking about. Everything I did was biased. Everything was wrong. I just talked for a bunch of hours without saying anything. Let's say you believe that and you want the concrete, deepest evidence that something is terribly fucked up. And it's funny because I could have just started here and that could have just been the whole thing, but I worked you here for about an hour and a half. What does that say? Chat and anybody reading on Twitch right now, please tell me, what does that say? Senator Rand Paul endorses Robby Starbuck for Congress. Can't believe it. I can't even begin to, and you uploaded it in 720p. You're supposed to be a Hollywood director and you can't even figure out how to upscale? Rand fucking Paul. Mr. Fauci has killed millions with AIDS, Rand Paul. I ain't getting DMCA'd. Fuck out of here.
I'm Robby Starbuck. A lot of people ask me, Robby, why would you burn down a successful career in Hollywood, directing some of the biggest
You didn't do that, though.
stars in the world to run for Congress?
At least the gimbal footage is
Very
smooth.
simple. Socialists already stole everything from my family once in Cuba. My life mission now is to make sure that socialists can't do the same thing to you.
He is literally the whitest kids you know, Skip. He is literally Clint Webb. They are all running the Clint Webb book.
I don't endorse many people for Congress, but I'm endorsing Robby Starbuck because he's one of the good guys. He's one of the guys who really will go to Washington and do as he says. He'll vote for smaller government. He'll vote against the endless wars. Robby knows about socialism
We pulled out of Afghanistan.
firsthand. His family escaped socialism in Cuba. We can't let socialism come back to our country. Vote for my friend, Robby Starbuck.
Oh my God.
I'm Robby Starbuck, and I approve this message.
Make America free again. There's your answer. Woohoo, Robby, keep it up. Woo, yay. I look forward to knowing where the fuck that $90 billion went from COVID relief bill we were all held hostage for over a year, even though the answer to that was literally said out loud for you. Robby Starbuck is a fucking idiot. Please do not vote for him. This is an anti-Robby Starbuck video. This is an anti-Robby Starbuck. Tennessee. Don't do it. We are in midterms now. Don't fucking do it. And I guarantee you, when I look back on this video and find out that that motherfucker won his race, when I guarantee you, I'm gonna just be so mad.